how does a high school dropout from Brooklyn single-handedly topple the entire Soviet chess empire? He becomes a once-in-a-generation genius, maybe the most famous chess player in history. But here's the twist: the same obsessive mind that fueled his incredible rise also planted the seeds of a tragic downfall, sending him spiraling into a world of paranoia and isolation. This is the story of Bobby Fischer, the boy who conquered the world, and the man who was conquered by himself. Robert James Fischer was born in Chicago in 1943, but his story really begins in a small Brooklyn apartment. When he was 6, his life changed after his family bought a cheap $1 chess set from a local candy store. From that moment on, the 64 squares became his entire world. While other kids were outside playing, Bobby was inside, devouring chess books. He even taught himself enough Russian to get through Soviet chess manuals, desperate for any edge he could find. His mother Regina was a single mom working hard to support her 2 kids, and she quickly saw his obsession. This was a boy possessed by an ancient game, trading a normal childhood for a single, all-consuming purpose. By age 12, he was a regular at the legendary Manhattan Chess Club, easily holding his own against grown men and seasoned masters. His rise wasn't just fast, it was completely breathtaking. At 13, he became the youngest U.S. junior champion ever, but that same year, in 1956, he played a match that would make him a legend before he was even old enough to drive facing international master Donald Byrne. The 13-year-old Fischer unleashed a shocking series of moves, capped by a brilliant queen sacrifice that forced an unavoidable checkmate. The chess world was floored. The game was nicknamed the Game of the Century, a masterpiece of pure creativity and aggression. It was a warning shot. Just a year later, at 14, he captured his first U.S. chess championship, again, the youngest to ever do it. In fact, he would win all 8 U.S. championships he ever played in, including a perfect 11-0 rout in the 1963-64 tournament, a feat that has never been repeated. By 15, he was the world's youngest grandmaster, a record that held for more than 30 years. Fischer wasn't just playing chess, he was changing it. His preparation was legendary, his focus was terrifying, and his hatred of losing was almost pathological. For Bobby, even a draw felt like a loss. He played to win every single time, a mindset that would make him great, but would also plant the seeds for his future conflicts.
The Contender.
As Fischer grew up, his goal was simple and absolute: become the world champion. The only problem, he had to go through an entire empire to get there. During the Cold War, chess was more than just a game. It was a battleground for ideological supremacy. The Soviet Union had dominated the World Chess Championship since 1948, propping up its grandmasters as cultural heroes and symbols of intellectual might. The Soviet chess machine was a state-funded juggernaut with millions of players. The US had just a few thousand. And then there was Bobby, a lone American, a self-taught maverick with no government backing, who basically declared war on the whole Soviet system. He was convinced the Soviets were cheating, playing quick, pre-arranged draws with each other in tournaments so they'd be fresh for their games against him. A lot of people dismissed it as paranoia at the time, but for Bobby, it was just more fuel for the fire. His path to the top was a trail of destruction. He made impossible demands, pulled out of tournaments over prize money or bad lighting, and fought with organizers at every single turn, but nobody could deny his genius. Between 1970 and 1971, Fischer went on one of the most dominant runs in sports history. He won 20 straight games against elite grandmasters in the world title qualifiers. He beat Soviet grandmaster Mark Taimanov with a perfect 6-0 score. When Taimanov got back to the USSR, he faced severe repercussions, was temporarily banned from international travel, and lost many of his state-sponsored perks. Fischer then did the exact same thing to Danish grandmaster Bent Larsen, another 6-0 sweep. The chess world had never seen anything like it. His style was so clear, so powerful, and so ruthless that opponents started talking about Fischer fear, a kind of psychological paralysis that kicked in before the first move was even made. He wasn't just a contender anymore, he was a force of nature. After he dispatched former world champion Tigran Petrosian, the path was clear. Only one man stood between Bobby Fischer and the crown, the reigning world champion, Boris Spassky, and the entire Soviet empire he had behind him.
The champion.
The summer of 1972, Reykjavik, Iceland, the World Chess Championship. This wasn't just a chess match, it was the match of the century, a global spectacle that was a perfect snapshot of the Cold War. It was the ultimate individualist versus the collective Soviet machine. And, in classic Fischer fashion, the drama started before a single piece was moved. Fischer almost didn't even go. He demanded more money, different lighting, and the removal of all TV cameras, which he insisted were too loud. As the world waited, the match hung by a thread. It took a British investor doubling the prize money and a now famous phone call from US National Security Advisor Henry Kissinger to get him on the plane. Kissinger reportedly told him, "America wants you to go over there to beat the Russians." He arrived late, lost the first game on a simple blunder, and then forfeited the second game entirely. He was down 2-0. It looked like a total disaster, but then Spassky, in an incredible act of sportsmanship, agreed to Fischer's demand to play the third game in a small private back room, away from the cameras. That was the turning point. Away from the distractions, Fischer won a brilliant game, his first ever win against Spassky. From that point on, Fischer was in total control. He wasn't just playing chess, he was waging psychological warfare. He complained about the chairs, noise from the audience, and even accused the Soviets of using hidden devices to mess with him. Spassky, known as a composed and gentlemanly champion, started to look rattled. The pressure was unbelievable. Back in the USSR, a team of grandmasters analyzed Spassky's every move. Fischer was all on his own. Game after game, Fischer's fresh and aggressive style took the champion apart. The world was obsessed. Headlines normally reserved for politics and war were now dedicated to chess moves. Finally, after 21 games, Boris Spassky resigned. Bobby Fischer, the kid from Brooklyn, had done the impossible. He was the 11th world chess champion, ending 24 years of Soviet dominance and becoming a true American hero.
The disappearance and decline.
Bobby Fischer had reached the top of the mountain. At 29, he was one of the most famous people on the planet. A symbol of American triumph. $1 million endorsement deals were pouring in. But what do you do once you've achieved your lifelong goal? If you're Bobby Fischer, you turn it all down and disappear. The world waited for his next move, his first title defense. It never happened. In 1975, when he was scheduled to defend his title against the new Soviet star, Anatoly Karpov, Fischer gave the International Chess Federation a long list of non-negotiable demands. Most were accepted, but the Federation rejected his demand that the title would be his in the case of a 9-9 tie. For Fischer, that was a deal-breaker. In a move nobody had ever seen before, he refused to play and forfeited his crown. Just like that, the world champion was gone. For the next 20 years, Bobby Fischer became a ghost. He lived in total seclusion, completely dropping off the world stage. Every now and then, reports of his bizarre behavior and deepening paranoia would trickle out. He got involved with the Worldwide Church of God, an apocalyptic religious group, and donated significant sums of money to the cause. When he finally re-emerged, he was a different man. In 1992, he agreed to play an unofficial multi-million-dollar rematch against his old foe, Boris Spassky. The problem? The match was in Yugoslavia, which was under a strict UN embargo and US sanctions. At a press conference, Fischer held up a letter from the US government warning him not to play, and then he spat on it. He won the match easily, but by playing it, he had broken US law. A warrant was issued for his arrest. The American hero was now a fugitive. The years that followed were a tragic downward spiral. He drifted around Europe and Asia as his mental state crumbled. He began giving bizarre radio interviews filled with horrific anti-American and anti-Semitic rants, alienating the fans who had once worshipped him. The brilliant mind that could see 20 moves ahead on a chessboard was now lost in a fog of conspiracy and hatred. In 2004, he was arrested in Japan for trying to travel on a revoked US passport and was facing extradition.
Conclusion.
Facing prison in the country he once represented, Fischer found a savior in the most unlikely of places. Iceland, the site of his greatest victory, granted him citizenship in 2005. He lived out his final years there, a recluse in the very country that had once crowned him king. He died in 2008 from kidney failure at the age of 64, a strangely symbolic number for a man who lived his life on the 64 squares of a chessboard. So, what do we make of Bobby Fischer? His mark on chess is undeniable. His book, My 60 Memorable Games, is still considered a must-read. He created a new chess variant, Fischer Random Chess, and patented a digital clock that adds time after each move, a system now standard in top-level tournaments. His intense preparation and professionalism changed how every top player approaches the game today. But you can't separate the genius from the tragedy. He was a deeply flawed figure, consumed by the same fire that made him great. Was he a hero who just flew too close to the sun, or a man haunted by demons that chess could only keep away for a little while? In the end, his story is a chilling look at the razor-thin line between genius and madness. He was the ultimate outsider, a lone king who won the world but lost himself. What do you think of Bobby Fischer's complex legacy? Is he a hero, a tragic figure, or something else entirely? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy deep dives into fascinating lives, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell for more.
If you want to know what's hidden in the story behind Amy Winehouse's greatest album, click on the link in the video.